Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about two novellas, them being Carmilla and The Vampire. I was sent this copy by one of my subscribers called Kathy K. Kathy has been watching my channel for a while now and she's a big supporter of my channel and my videos. And recently she won a couple of my giveaways and she wanted to send me something and I said you don't have to send me anything, but she was saying to me, look, is there anything that you want, because she lives in Canada, is there any covers that are different over in Canada that are different over here that I want to get? And I wasn't really sure, but she sent me this book because these are two of her favourite stories. And she knew that I have recently finished Dracula by Bram Stoker. It's not really set in stone, but it's implied that these are influences and inspirations that made Bram Stoker write Dracula. So Kathy doesn't really have a channel. Trust me guys, I have tried my best to get her to start one. I was so pleased to get this book. I knew nothing about it apart from what I've just told you guys. And after reading Dracula, which I was very neutral about, I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. I was kind of in the middle. But knowing that these are possible inspirations for Dracula, I was kind of apprehensive. So before I get into this video, thank you so much Kathy for sending me this book. It was interesting, I'll say that, but thank you so much. You didn't have to, but thank you. So because these are really short, the book as a whole is 124 pages. That's both stories combined, but they are both written by different authors. So before I get into this video, as always, this is going to be a spoiler-free video. And this is going to be my own thoughts and feelings regarding both these stories. So Carmilla, which is sometimes called the lesbian vampire, that's the kind of label that people have stuck to this vampire, which is a female, and our main character is a female, and I suppose they have a sort of romantic relationship with each other and strong feelings towards each other, but the story itself is simply called Carmilla. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the author's name, but it will be up on the screen somewhere so you'll be able to see it. So the story of Carmilla retells the story of a daughter who is in this massive castle that is taking care of her sick father. Then one day this horse-driven carriage comes along and ultimately crashes at their doorstep. And the mother asks the residents of this castle to temporarily take care of her daughter while she goes, I presume, to find help at the nearest town or whatever. I don't really think it's specified about why she wants to go rather than spending time taking care of her daughter that's clearly shaken up and injured in some way. But she says that she will be back in 3 months or so. So our main character, who I'm pretty sure is called Laura, I could be wrong about that, and her father take this girl in who happens to be called Carmilla. Now our main character has these strange nightmares that are very, very vivid and graphic and full of blood. They're not like gory, over the top gore, but there is scenes where all this blood is dripping down her face and down her clothes, and this creature standing at the foot of her bed in the dark looking at her. You get the point with that. But the strange thing is that this figure that our main character dreams about is Carmilla. And she dreams about Carmilla even before this accident even started or happened. They take Carmilla in, they welcome her with open arms, they treat her as a member of the family, and Carmilla seems to be a normal, everyday girl. Our main character and Carmilla get on really, really well with each other, and nothing seems to be overly odd. But our main character keeps on having all these strange nightmares, still including and about Carmilla. And she even gets a bite on her neck as well, through these dreams. It just results in, I think, a character called the Baron or Baron, who is kind of like the Van Helsing character in this story, and how he takes them to a, I think, abandoned or ruins village, and inside this chapel, where they have to ultimately confront the vampire, which, as I just said at the start of this video, is a female vampire. There is a twist at the end that I'm not sure if I saw coming, but it was a interesting and good twist. There is scenes where, as I said, where it contains blood and gore. There is a scene where a character gets their head chopped off, and it's described that all this blood is like gushing from their wounds. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Carmilla. It was a good story. The next story, which is called The Vampyre, spelt with a Y instead of an I, so like that. This one is by John William Polidori. So I found stuff out about John as an author. Fun fact, he was friends and acquaintances with Mary Shelley, and they had a competition. Well, they and some other authors had a competition with each other who could actually write the scariest book, and that resulted in Frankenstein happening, and this resulted in this story happening. This is a really, really short story. It's only about 30, 35-ish pages long. But I also found out that John was like really big into alcohol, and he got in debt with gambling, and it's implied that he took his own life because he felt underappreciated and for the other reasons which I've just said. But there are some conflicting statements from the medical profession back then, or the doctors back then, saying that this wasn't the case and he died of natural causes, which is kind of weird because he wasn't old or anything like that. He was quite young. But The Vampyre is a very, very basic story. It follows our main character, who is a male, and he goes to all these, I won't say elites, but posh parties, and all these events that all these rich people attend. And there is a gentleman that always attends these parties that he becomes infatuated and obsessed with. And ultimately he befriends this person in this individual. But as the story progresses, we find out that this individual is much more than what he appears to be. And yes, obviously he turns out to be a vampire. I don't really think that that's a spoiler, as the title of the story in the book, and you probably guessed the gentleman was a vampire. He doesn't seem to be violent or cruel or put our main character in any danger whatsoever, but he does ask our main character to keep this secret away from people, but only for a specific amount of time. Despite that this story was very short, it was written in a very poetic way. It would be interesting to find out if John wrote poetry, and there are scenes in this book, or pages, whatever, I suppose, that poems are throughout this story. You can actually see the myths of vampires, them drinking blood, and all the myths that were like written down and made up, and how the legend of the vampire started. And that could be said for Carmilla as well. Kathy was telling me how she's very, I want to say, angry or frustrated, but there'd probably be the best ways that I can describe what she commented to me, that people think that these vampire stories started with Dracula. And what this has shown me is that Dracula only made vampires popular and cool and interesting to the mass audience. But there are numerous stories, but these are probably not the only two vampire stories written before Dracula. There's probably hundreds and hundreds before Dracula was even written or even thought about. But if you have read Dracula, or you're interested in reading Dracula, then I would highly recommend that you give these two a go. You might have heard of Carmilla because I think it's more well known, but I would highly recommend that you give The Vampire a try. You can find both of these books on audio on YouTube. So if you don't want to hunt down the book or books or whatever, then I would definitely recommend that you give them a listen. They aren't particularly long. But the writing style of these books, because they were written in the 1800s, can be very dry. But I don't know, they have a good flow to them. It's just the language is different than what we are used to reading today, and how we speak today as well. And I suppose that's how I could describe the writing style of Dracula. And like Dracula, these still require numerous rereads in order to fully appreciate them and understand them. I actually read the copy of The Vampire in this book, and then I also listened to it on audio. If you have read Dracula and you didn't like Dracula, then I would at least say that give these a try, but do not expect high things. If you didn't like Dracula, then the things that you didn't like in Dracula are more likely to appear in these books as well. But I would at least say to give them a try and give them a chance, because despite their, I wouldn't say flaws, but the things that I just mentioned about the writing style and the language, it's understandable because they were written such a long time ago. But if you are really interested in vampires and lore of the vampire and all their myths, and I mean, I'm not saying that this is where it all started, that these were the first ever stories written about vampires, but if you are interested in vampires, then I would highly recommend these. But after reading Dracula and Carmilla and The Vampire, I have become interested and intrigued to read more vampire stories. I think one was brought to my attention called The Tomb and Sarah, or Sarah's Tomb, or something along them lines. I'm not really sure. I only remembered it because Sarah is the same name as the booktuber who does the Thrills and Kills channel. So yeah, but I'm intrigued. There is a book on eBay that I'm keeping my eye open for, or my eye on rather, that's the complete vampire stories. So if I do get it, it will be interesting to make my way through that. But if you have any other recommendations for any vampire stories that are flying underneath the radar, then comment down below and I will check them out. But yeah, let me know if you have read both these stories. Let me know what you thought about them. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Are you intrigued to read them now because of this video? Have I inspired you? I mean, please comment down below and let's just talk about vampires and Dracula and these stories and any other vampirish stories that you want to talk about, not including Twilight. But yeah, let me know what you think about this whole video, and yeah, let's just have a discussion about it down below. Lastly, before I end this video, I just want to once again thank Kathy for sending me this copy. You didn't have to, but it was nice that you did. I'm going to hang on to this, and it'll be really nice to go back to these stories and to read them and to appreciate them more. So yeah, with all that out of the way, guys, I will see you in my next video.